Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for June 4th through 10th. This week I read 3 books, I watched 1 show, and I listened to 3 books. The bulk of my reading this week was obviously for the Queer Lit Readathon, but there's something in here that I started before the Queer Lit Readathon started and had to finish, so take all of that into account. The first book that I finished this week is a book called Not Otherwise Specified. This is a book about a young black girl who used to be a ballerina and quit because she developed an ED. A lot of this book has to do with her going to a support group as well as her auditioning for a theater school. So if you are at all sensitive to the topic of disordered eating, definitely be very careful going into this book. Additionally, huge trigger warnings for biphobia. It is rampant in this book. Our main character is bisexual and she used to hang out with this group of girls who affectionately call themselves the Disco Dykes, or the Dykes for short, and they basically kick her out of their group even though the whole time she said she's bisexual when she starts dating a boy. At the beginning of our book, she has now broken up with that boy and is trying to get back in with this friend group, but they are so biphobic and it's ridiculous and I hate it so much. I can't speak to the representation in this book for many of her characteristics. I can only basically talk about the biphobia because I am not black and I have not experienced an eating disorder, so I don't know about those parts of the representation. So maybe check out Own Voices reviews for those, but specifically if you're looking for a book that tackles biphobia or at least brings up a lot of biphobia and you want to have a conversation about it based on what you're seeing these characters do, it's definitely an impactful text for that. And also I'm a theater kid, so I obviously loved the theater references and that whole narrative. Next we have Symptoms of Being Human, and I absolutely loved this book. This is about a gender fluid character named Riley, and what I really appreciated about this book is at no point was it ever revealed what gender Riley was assigned at birth, because nobody needs to know that, and I commend the writer for being able to pull that off, because often there will be a hint here or there and you can kind of figure it out, but it's not anybody's business, and that's pretty much the whole point of the book. Riley is not a boy, Riley is not a girl, sometimes Riley feels more masc or femme, and this is something they've had to contain about themselves because their father is a politician and is up for re-election and they don't want to be in the spotlight whatsoever, so they don't want to bring this up, they don't want to come out until they're completely ready. They just really want people at their high school to stop being dicks to them. As part of their therapy, they start an online blog that is anonymous, and then suddenly they start getting traction on this online blog, and then suddenly it seems like somebody might know who they are and might out them. Riley was such a thoughtful, passionate, interesting character. I really liked seeing their story, and I really enjoyed this book. Next we have Icebreaker. This is a hockey male-male romance, and I very much enjoyed it. Our main character is bisexual, except for very few people know, and he's had this hatred towards this other player who's going to be on his college team this year because they are basically ranked number 1 and number 2, and it depends who you ask as to who's number 1 and who's number 2 for the next draft. So they are basically battling each other to see who's going to be the first draft, which is something that our main character has been striving for since he was a child. You see, his grandfather and his father were both NHL players. He is Mickey James III, so he's carrying on that tradition. In fact, his parents actually kept having children until they finally had a boy. He is the 6th child in the family and he's the only boy. And he finds this kind of ridiculous because he's got an older sister who's actually a better hockey player than him, but she never gets the recognition she deserves because she plays women's hockey, and who cares about women's sports? All of the sarcasm intended there, because what the hell. As you might have been able to guess, this is definitely a rivals to lovers story, and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to know what was going to happen with these lads. I wanted to know what was going to happen with the hockey. As you probably know about me by now, I don't really care about sports, but I do care about sports stories, and if you make them queer, I'm gonna be even more excited about them. The one show I watched this week was the first 8 of 10 episodes of Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm finally home, I can finally watch it. I was in fact very tempted to watch the last 2 episodes, but then that would have been way past my bedtime, and I'm trying to stick to a particular bedtime because I'm a full-grown adult and want to get my sleep. Insert short jokes here about the full-grown adult comment. In any case, I really enjoyed this book when it first came out. I haven't reread it since, so there are certain aspects about this that I'm like, is this a new aspect to this story? Did they add this for the show? Or do I just not remember it from reading it? So I'm very excited to actually finish this and then go back and reread the book at some point, because I just want to see if there's a couple of things that I just forgot about or if there's things that they've added to it. If you've somehow never heard of this book or the adaptation, Daisy Jones and the Six is historical fiction that takes place actually through a few decades, because we get to go back and learn the backstory of both Daisy Jones and the members of the Six. But the bulk of the story takes place during the 60s and the 70s, at least in the adaptation. I think that's what it was in the book, but again, I'm going to have to reread it and find out. It's basically shot in a behind the scenes of music type of documentary style, so listening to the audiobook is the preferred way to consume the book because you're just hearing these different characters talk about their experiences, and it's basically almost all dialogue. This documentary is exploring their time being a band and then also what led to their inevitable breakup. I am very excited to watch the last couple of episodes. I just couldn't make it work this week. I watched the first 8 episodes all in one day though. The first audiobook that I finished this week is The Cloisters. This is dark academia about this woman who used to live in the state of Washington and now has moved to New York so she can work at an internship. And it doesn't exactly end up being what she thought it was going to be, but she ends up working in this place called The Cloisters and she's doing a lot of research, and her mentor, the person she's kind of working for, is really into tarot and trying to figure out where the first deck originated. And he is a pretty big believer of certain things. This book has a lot to do with fate and different relationships and manipulation, and it was interesting. I think that it might have been a little bit too slow-paced if I was just reading it on the page, but listening to it, it was actually pretty motivating to get out and have my daily walk so I could listen to the book. I did also enjoy some twists and turns along the way. There is a kind of mystery at some point where you're trying to figure out who done the thing, and I thought the resolution to this was pretty clever, actually. Then the next 2 audiobooks I listened to were actually a duology. One is Silver in the Wood, and the other is Drowned Country. This actually came to me from the library as one audiobook, so I didn't have to track down both of them, which was great, because when I finished one, I could just roll right into the other. I think that this is called the Green Hollow duology. That would make sense, because that's where the majority of it takes place. And in the first one, our main character is Tobias Thorne, and in the second one, our main character is Henry Silver. Tobias Thorne looks out of his window one day and sees this guy walking by his cottage, which is not very usual because he lives in the middle of the woods, and it is downpouring out. And he actually lets this guy in so he can dry off and sleep and then move on his way. It turns out that not only does Henry Silver now own the manor house that's in the town, he's also a folklorist, which is an interesting coincidence given that Tobias has been living in the forest for 400 years and there are many stories about him. The first book is full of adventure and then also has a romantic element to it, and then in our second book it is 2 years later. We're getting the perspective from Henry, and something went wrong in their relationship because they are no longer together. From here, not only do we go on another adventure and not only are they brought back together for this adventure, but we also have flashbacks to figure out what happened before. This is a really fantastic duology and I highly recommend it. This actually fit the folklore prompt so very well. I thought it was going to like sort of fit it, but all of the extra layers of him actually being a folklorist and him collecting these stories from the area, it actually made it fit super well. That's it for this week, and if you didn't see my video from yesterday, I did also want to mention that I'm a host of the BookNet Fest Readathon, which is a readathon that's happening next weekend when BookNet Fest is happening. So for those of us who can't go to BookNet Fest, which is my favorite event, there is a readathon, so at least we can feel connected to the event. I'll make sure to link that down below in case you missed it. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!